You finally get the promotion, the one you have been killing yourself for over the last 3 years. The salary is double what you make now, the office has a view of the skyline, and your team is looking at you with respect. It is everything you wrote down in your journal. It is the dream. But then, 2 weeks later, you sleep in. You miss a critical morning briefing. You forget to reply to the most important client in your portfolio. You start feeling a strange, heavy fog in your brain every time you sit down at your desk. You snap at your boss over something trivial. Slowly, methodically, and completely unconsciously, you start to tear the whole thing down. You are destroying the very thing you built. Why? Are you stupid? No. Are you ungrateful? Not at all. Are you broken? Absolutely not. You are experiencing the most misunderstood phenomenon in human psychology. You are hitting your upper limit. You are engaging in self-sabotage. But here is the twist, and this is the first thing we need to clear up before we even look at the mountain. Self-sabotage is not you hating yourself. It is not you trying to hurt yourself. In fact, it is the exact opposite. Self-sabotage is you trying to save yourself. It sounds crazy, right? Why would ruining my career save me? Why would picking a fight with the love of my life save me? To understand this, we have to stop looking at your life through the lens of logic and start looking at it through the lens of biology. Your brain, that ancient, beautiful machine, has one primary directive. It is not to make you happy. It is not to make you rich. It is not to make you famous. Its only job is to keep you alive. And to your brain, survival looks like one thing: the familiar. We tend to think that humans seek pleasure and avoid pain. That is the standard economic model of the world, but it is wrong. Humans do not seek pleasure. We seek what is known. We gravitate toward what is comfortable, even if that comfort is painful. If you grew up in chaos, if you are used to struggling for money, if you are used to relationships where you have to fight for attention, then chaos, struggle, and fighting feel like home. They feel safe. So when you finally get that peace, when the bank account is full, when the partner is loving and stable, your internal alarm system goes off. It screams, "Red alert, we are in unknown territory." Your subconscious mind views this new happiness as a foreign object, like a virus entering the body. And just like a fever rises to kill a virus, your self-sabotage rises to kill the success. You create a problem, a fight, or a failure, just to bring yourself back down to the baseline of misery that you are used to. You retreat to the known, because the known, even if it hurts, is predictable. This is the core thesis of Brianna Wiest's work. The mountain isn't the obstacle in front of you. The mountain is you. It is your addiction to your own comfort zone. Let's dig deeper into this, because if you don't get the mechanics of this, you will never change it. Think of your life like a thermostat in a house. You have a set temperature that you are comfortable with. Let's say your internal setting is mild struggle. That is where you have lived for 20 years. Now you go out and you work hard, and you raise the temperature of your life. You get fit, you get rich, you get happy, the room gets hot, it's warm, it's beautiful. But your internal thermostat, it panics. It says, this is too hot, this is not us. So what does the AC do? It kicks in to cool the room down. That AC is your self-sabotage. It cools your life back down until you are back at mild struggle. And then you breathe a sigh of relief. You feel normal again. This is why lottery winners lose everything. Have you ever seen those statistics? It is tragic. Someone wins $50 million, and 5 years later, they are not just broke. They are often in debt, divorced, and worse off than before they bought the ticket. We look at them and say, how could they be so irresponsible? We judge them, but it's not irresponsibility. It's a psychological correction. Their identity was struggling person. The money was a threat to that identity. So they subconsciously made decision after decision to get rid of the threat, to get rid of the money, so they could return to the safety of the struggle. This happens in the micro moments of your day, too. It's not just the big tragedies, it's the procrastination. Let's talk about procrastination for a second, because everyone thinks it's laziness. It is not laziness. Laziness is when you don't want to do the work. Procrastination is when you want to do the work, you know you should do the work, but you feel physically unable to move. Why does that happen? Usually, it's because the task you need to do represents a shift in who you are. If you write that book, you become an author, and that opens you up to criticism. If you launch that business, you become an entrepreneur, and that opens you up to failure. Your brain calculates the risk of the new you and decides it's safer to stay the old you. So it gives you a hit of dopamine to check Instagram, or it makes you suddenly very tired, or it convinces you that you need to clean the entire kitchen before you can send one email. This is the upper limit problem. It is the glass ceiling we build with our own hands. Wiest argues that self-sabotage is actually a form of coexisting needs. That is a fancy psychological term, but let's break it down. It means you have two desires fighting a war inside your chest. Need A is your conscious desire. I want to be financially free. Need B is your unconscious desire. I want to be loved and accepted by my family, who believe that rich people are evil. Do you see the conflict? If you get rich, you violate the unconscious rule of your tribe. You risk abandonment. So, you self-sabotage the business deal to stay safe with the tribe. The need for connection overrides the need for success. Every single time. We have to stop looking at our behaviors as good or bad and start looking at them as effective or ineffective for the life we want to build. Your self-sabotage is actually very effective. It is incredibly good at doing what it was designed to do, keep you in the familiar zone. It is a master protector. It just happens to be protecting you from the very life you are trying to build. So, how do we begin to scale this mountain? If the mountain is us, how do we climb ourselves? It starts with a radical shift in perspective. You have to stop fighting your feelings. Most of us, when we feel that anxiety, that resistance, that urge to procrastinate, we try to bulldozer through it. We drink more coffee. We listen to aggressive motivational speakers who yell at us. We try to force compliance. But you cannot fight biology with willpower. Willpower is a battery. It runs out. Biology is a generator. It runs forever. Instead of fighting the resistance, you have to listen to it. You have to become a detective of your own ruin. When you feel that urge to pull back, to cancel the date, to not hit publish, you need to pause and ask the most important question you can ever ask yourself. What is this protecting me from? Not why am I so lazy? Not what is wrong with me? But what am I afraid will happen if I actually succeed here? Maybe you are afraid that if you get fit, you'll get more attention, and attention feels dangerous to you because of something that happened when you were 16. Maybe you are afraid that if you succeed, your friends will be jealous and leave you. The answer is always buried in the fear of loss. We don't fear the summit. We fear leaving the ground. We fear the loss of who we used to be. And this brings us to the concept of the void. When you stop self-sabotaging, when you stop creating chaos, you don't immediately feel happy. You feel empty, you feel bored. And that boredom is terrifying. We are addicted to the high drama frequency of our own problems. When the problems stop, we panic. We assume something is wrong because it is quiet. We equate peace with boredom, and we equate boredom with lack of passion. So, unconsciously, we go out and create a crisis just to feel the rush of adrenaline again. We light a match just to see if the fire alarm still works. This brings us to the second major theme of Wiest's work, and it is a hard pill to swallow. You do not know how to feel your feelings. Most of us think we are emotional people. We cry at movies, we get angry in traffic, we feel stressed about deadlines, but experiencing a reaction is not the same thing as processing an emotion. Wiest argues that we spend most of our lives intellectualizing our feelings rather than feeling them. Here is the difference. When you feel a heavy sadness in your chest, what do? If you're like most people, you immediately start writing a story about it. I am sad because my job sucks, and because I am not married yet, and because the economy is crashing. You attach a narrative to the sensation. You try to solve the sadness like it is a math problem. You think, if I just get a new job, this feeling will go away. But emotions are not math problems. They are physiological events. They are vibrations in your body. By rushing to fix the feeling with logic, you are actually suppressing it. You are pushing it down into the shadow, that dark basement of your psyche, where you store everything you are too afraid to face. And down there, in the dark, those feelings don't die, they mutate. They turn into anxiety, chronic pain, and yes, self-sabotage. You have to learn to treat your emotions like guests. When sadness knocks on the door, you let it in. You sit with it. You don't ask it for an explanation. You don't demand it leave. You just sit there and say, I feel heavy. You let the sensation wash over you. It is uncomfortable. It is terrifying. But here is the secret. It is temporary. Biologically, an emotion only lasts for about 90 seconds in the body if you don't feed it with a story. 90 seconds. That's it. But because we feed it with, why is this happening? And this is unfair, we keep the loop going for years. This inability to sit with discomfort is why we sabotage our intuition. This is a critical distinction the book makes, the difference between your gut instinct and your irrational fear. This is the million-dollar question, isn't it? You are about to make a big change, maybe break up with someone or quit your job, and you feel a knot in your stomach. Is that not your intuition warning you of danger? Or is it just fear trying to keep you small? Wiest gives us a brilliant, simple compass to tell them apart. Fear is loud. It is frantic. It screams. It operates on a timeline of urgency. You have to decide right now. You are going to miss out. Everyone is looking at you. Fear feels like a spinning teacup ride, dizzying and chaotic. Intuition is different. Intuition is quiet. It is still. It doesn't scream. It whispers. And usually, it tells you something you already know but don't want to admit. Intuition doesn't make you panic. It makes you clear. It says simply, this isn't for you. Self-sabotage happens when we listen to the loud scream of fear and ignore the quiet whisper of intuition. We stay in the toxic job because fear screams, you will be poor. We ignore the intuition that says, this place is killing your soul. To climb the mountain, you have to retrain your ears. You have to lower the volume on the panic and raise the volume on the truth. And this requires us to dismantle one of the biggest tools of self-sabotage, worry. We love to worry. We wear our worry like a badge of honor. We think that if we worry about someone, it means we love them. We think that if we worry about a project, it means we are responsible. But Wiest flips this on its head. She argues that worry is a defense mechanism. It is a way to avoid the present moment. When you worry, you are living in a catastrophic future that hasn't happened yet. Why do we do this? Because it gives us a false sense of control. We think, if I imagine the worst case scenario, I can prepare for it, and then it won't hurt as much. It is a lie. You cannot prepay for your pain. If the tragedy happens, it will hurt just as much whether you worried about it for 10 years or 10 minutes. All worry does is rob you of the energy you need to build your life today. It is the ultimate form of self-sabotage because it drains your battery before you even start the car. So how do we stop? We have to understand that the mountain we are climbing is made of our past traumas. We are not just fighting bad habits. We are fighting old survival mechanisms. Every behavior you have, no matter how destructive, served a purpose at one point. Maybe you learned to be silent because speaking up got you yelled at as a kid. That silence saved you then. But now, in your marriage, that silence is destroying your connection. The tool that built the safety has become the weapon that destroys the growth. You have to thank the behavior for saving you and then fire it. And this leads us to the most dangerous trap of all, the trap that catches the smartest, most ambitious people, the trap of waiting to feel ready. We tell ourselves that we will start the business when we feel confident. We will speak up when we feel brave. We will invest when we feel secure. We are waiting for the feeling to give us permission to act. But this is the great hallucination of the human mind. Feelings do not precede action. Action precedes feelings. You do not write because you feel inspired. You feel inspired because you are writing. You do not run because you feel energetic. You feel energetic because you are running. Confidence is not a prerequisite for doing the hard thing. Confidence is the result of doing the hard thing. By waiting to feel ready, you are waiting for a bus that is never coming. You are standing at the station of your own potential, checking your watch, while your life passes you by in the express lane. Wiest introduces a concept here that is both terrifying and liberating. The breakdown is often the breakthrough. When you finally stop waiting and start climbing that mountain, something strange happens. You expect to feel better immediately. You expect the clouds to part and the angels to sing. But often, things get worse, much worse. You start eating healthy and you feel sick. You start setting boundaries and your friends call you selfish. You start working on your trauma and you cry for 3 days straight. Your brain screams, "Abort! We made a mistake. Go back." But you didn't make a mistake. You are experiencing the purge. Think about cleaning a disorganized closet. To clean it, you first have to pull everything out. You have to throw the clothes on the floor. For an hour, the room looks infinitely messier than it did before you started. If someone walked in, they would say you made a disaster. But you know the truth. The mess is the necessary middle step between chaos and order. Your life is that closet. When you start changing, you are pulling the junk out of the dark corners. You are feeling the repressed emotions you stored away 10 years ago. This emotional volatility isn't a sign that you are broken. It is a sign that you are healing. You are metabolizing the poison. If you don't understand this mechanism, you will quit. You will think the work isn't working. But if you understand that the breakdown is just the renovation phase, you can endure it. You can sit in the rubble and smile because you know a palace is being built. This leads us to the subtle art of microshifts. We are addicted to the idea of the quantum leap. We want the montage in the movie where the hero works out for 3 minutes and suddenly wins the championship. We want to change our lives overnight. But the mountain is not climbed by jumping. It is climbed by walking. Wiest argues that big, dramatic changes are actually a form of self-sabotage. Why? Because they are unsustainable. If you decide to go from sleeping until noon to waking up at 4 a.m. every single day, you will last 3 days. Then you will crash, burn, and use that failure as evidence that you just can't change. The brain rejects drastic changes. It views them as trauma. The antidote is the micro shift. It is the change so small that your brain's fear center doesn't even notice it. It isn't writing the book. It is writing one sentence. It isn't running a marathon. It is putting on your sneakers. These tiny actions bypass the amygdala, the fear center of the brain. They sneak past the guards. And slowly, these micro shifts compound. You build evidence. You prove to yourself, day by day, that you are a person who keeps their promises. You are rewriting your identity not with affirmations, but with actions. But to do this, you have to confront the shadow self that benefits from your failure. Let's get dark for a second. There is a part of you that likes being stuck. There is a payoff to your pain. Maybe being the victim gets you sympathy and attention. Maybe being broke lowers people's expectations of you, so you don't have to perform. Maybe being single protects you from the risk of being truly seen. You have to be brutally honest. What are you getting out of staying the same? If you are always the one in crisis, you get to be the center of attention. If you are always the one who tries but fails, you get the credit for trying without the responsibility of succeeding. This is the transactional nature of self-sabotage. You are buying safety with the currency of your potential. Wiest forces us to look at our subconscious commitments. You say you are committed to financial freedom, but look at your bank account, look at your spending. Your actions show a different commitment. Maybe you are subconsciously committed to proving your parents right that money is hard to get. Maybe you are committed to solidarity with your struggling friends. Until you make these subconscious commitments conscious, you will never override them. You have to drag them into the light. You have to look at that hidden contract you signed with yourself and rip it up. You have to decide that the pain of regret is finally heavier than the pain of change. And this brings us to the most difficult part of the climb, letting go of the past. We carry the past like a backpack filled with rocks. We think these rocks are protecting us. We replay old arguments in the shower. We fantasize about what we should have said to that ex-partner 5 years ago. We nurse our grudges like they are pets. Why? Because anger feels powerful. Forgiveness feels weak. We think that if we forgive the people who hurt us, we are saying what they did was okay. We think forgiveness is a pardon. It is not. Forgiveness has nothing to do with the other person. They don't even need to know you forgave them. Forgiveness is simply the act of cutting the energetic cord that ties you to the trauma. It is realizing that your anger is drinking poison and expecting the other person to die. You have to put the glass down, not for them, for you, because you cannot climb a mountain while carrying a corpse. Once you drop that rock, you suddenly have free hands. And this is where the real terror begins, because now you have to build. Wiest identifies a critical phase in this journey that most people quit during, the identity crisis. When you stop engaging in your old self-sabotaging behaviors, you lose the sense of who you are. If you were always the fixer in your family, and you stop fixing everyone's problems to focus on your own, who are you? You feel useless. You feel selfish. You feel invisible. This is the lobster phase. To grow, a lobster has to cast off its hard, protective shell. For a period of time, it is soft, mushy, and incredibly vulnerable to predators. It has to hide under a rock while the new shell hardens. That is exactly where you are when you start leveling up. You have cast off the old shell of the victim or the procrastinator, but the new shell of the leader or the creator hasn't hardened yet. You feel exposed. You feel like a fraud. Welcome to imposter syndrome. Now, society tells you that imposter syndrome is a bad thing. We have whole seminars on how to cure it. But Wiest flips the script again. She argues that imposter syndrome is actually a good sign. Why? Because it means you are in a room that you haven't mastered yet. If you don't feel like an imposter, it means you are overqualified for your current life. You are playing a video game on easy mode. The feeling of being a fraud is simply your brain adjusting to a new altitude. It is the vertigo of growth. Don't try to cure it. Use it. Let it keep you humble. Let it drive you to learn more. The only people who don't feel imposter syndrome are narcissists and people who aren't trying hard enough. But as you harden this new shell, you will face the external mountain, the reaction of your tribe. This is the hardest truth in the book, and I need you to really hear this. Your new life is going to cost you your old one. As you change, the people around you will get uncomfortable. Remember the thermostat? When you raise your temperature, you make them sweat. Your growth highlights their stagnation. Your discipline highlights their laziness, and they won't like it. They won't say, I am jealous of your growth. They will say, you've changed. You're arrogant now. You think you're better than us. This is the crab bucket effect. When a single crab tries to climb out of a bucket, the other crabs don't cheer it on. They grab its legs and pull it back down, not because they are evil, but because they are panicked. Your freedom threatens their reality. You will lose friends. You will drift away from family members. You will outgrow partners. And this is where self-sabotage kicks in with a vengeance. To keep the love of the tribe, you might be tempted to jump back into the bucket. You might dim your light just to make them comfortable. You might apologize for your success. Do not do it. Wiest argues that you are not responsible for managing other people's insecurity. You are only responsible for your own potential. If they cannot meet you at your new altitude, you have to love them from a distance. You have to accept that some people are chapters in your book, not the whole story. This solitude is necessary. It creates the space for you to develop mental anti-fragility. Resilience is the ability to bounce back. Anti-fragility is the ability to get stronger because of the hit. A bone that breaks and heals is often stronger at the break point. That is what you are building. You are learning to use stress, failure, and criticism as fuel. How? By shifting your focus from goals to values. Goals are fragile. I want to make $1 million is a goal. If you don't make it, you are a failure. I want to be a person who creates value, and mastering their craft is a value. It is an identity. Whether you make $1 or $1 million, you succeed every day, you show up and do the work. When you attach your self-worth to outcomes, you are a slave to the external world. When you attach your self-worth to your habits and your character, you become invincible. The market can crash, your partner can leave, you can get fired, but you cannot lose who you are if you built it on the bedrock of your own discipline. You start to realize that the goal was never the peak of the mountain. The goal was who you had to become to climb it. The muscle you built, the grit you developed, the wisdom you earned, that is the trophy. The view from the top is just a bonus. But there is one final, insidious enemy waiting for you near the summit. It isn't fear, it isn't laziness, it isn't even other people. It is the addiction to the struggle. We are culturally conditioned to believe that life must be hard to be meaningful. We glorify the grind. We distrust ease. If things are going too well, we wait for the other shoe to drop. We think, I don't deserve this happiness because I haven't suffered enough for it today. So we manufacture problems. We pick fights. We find something to stress about. We are like soldiers who come home from war and can't sleep in a quiet bed. We miss the noise of the battlefield. You have to teach your nervous system that it is safe to be happy. You have to teach yourself that peace is not a threat. This is the final frontier of self-mastery. It is the ability to sit in the sunlight without looking for a storm cloud. It requires a conscious effort to validate your own peace. You have to train your brain to stop scanning for lions in a library. There are no lions here. There is just you, your work, and the quiet hum of a life being built with intention. You have to learn to tolerate the boredom of consistency. This is where the dopamine detox comes in. We live in a world designed to keep us overstimulated. We are addicted to the new. New notification, new show, new drama, new crisis. But mastery? Mastery is doing the same thing over and over again until you can do it in your sleep. It is writing the page when you don't feel like it. It is going to the gym when it is raining. It is loving your partner even when they are being annoying. Self-sabotage loves the new because the new is distracting. The old, the routine. The discipline forces you to look at yourself. And looking at yourself is the hardest thing you will ever do. But it is also the only thing that matters. Wiest brings us to a profound realization near the end of the journey. The mountain was never in your way. The mountain was the way. Every trauma you faced, every failure you endured, every time you tripped and fell, it wasn't a mistake. It was training. You were building the muscles you need for the summit. If you hadn't gone through that toxic relationship, you wouldn't have the boundaries you have today. If you hadn't lost that job, you wouldn't have the hunger that drives your business now. You have to stop looking at your past as a waste of time. There is no wasted time. There is only gathered intelligence. The sunk cost fallacy is one of the biggest drivers of self-sabotage. We think, I have spent 10 years being miserable in this career. I can't leave now, or those 10 years will be for nothing. That is a lie. If you leave now, those 10 years become the lesson that guided you to the right path. If you stay, those 10 years become a life sentence. You have to be willing to burn the ship to save the crew. You have to be willing to walk away from who you were to become who you are. And who are you becoming? This brings us to the concept of the future self. We suggest that the most powerful tool for overcoming self-sabotage is to consult your future self. Close your eyes. Imagine the version of you that has already climbed the mountain. The version of you 5 years from now. They are calm. They are financially free. They are healthy. They are kind. Now, ask them, what do I need to do today? Your future self won't tell you to panic. They won't tell you to procrastinate. They will tell you to just do the next right thing. They will tell you that the fear you feel right now is irrelevant in the grand scheme of things. They will tell you that the only way to get there is to be disciplined here. When you align your daily actions with your future self, the self-sabotage dissolves. Why? Because you are no longer acting out of the fear of the past. You are acting out of the vision of the future. You are pulled by your potential rather than pushed by your pain. But let's be real. This isn't a fairy tale. You don't climb the mountain once and then live happily ever after on a cloud. Life is a range of mountains. You climb one, you enjoy the view, you walk down into the valley, and you start climbing the next one. The difference is, now you know how to climb. Now you know that the shortness of breath isn't a sign to stop. It's a sign you are getting higher. Now you know that the urge to quit isn't a command, it's just a feeling. Now you know that the mountain isn't something to be conquered. It's something to be traversed. You are no longer the victim of your life. You are the architect of it. And as you stand there, looking at the path you have traveled, you realize something startling. You realize that you are not the same person who started at the bottom. That person is gone. That person died on the slopes so that you could be born. That is the price of the summit, the death of the old self. It is a funeral and a birthday party all at once, and it is beautiful. So, what is waiting for you on the other side of self-sabotage? Freedom. Not just financial freedom or time freedom, though those are nice. I am talking about the ultimate freedom, the freedom from your own mind, the freedom to sit in a room by yourself and not feel the need to escape, the freedom to set a goal and know with 100% certainty that you will not get in your own way, the freedom to be happy without guilt, the freedom to be successful without apology. This is what Brianna Wiest is offering us. Not a productivity hack, not a 5-step plan to get rich. She is offering us a map back to ourselves. She is showing us that the wall we hit was a door. We just had to stop banging our head against it and turn the handle. The handle is self-awareness. The door is action. And the room on the other side, that is your life, your real life. The one you were meant to live before the world convinced you that you were broken. You are not broken. You are just building. The mountain is you. But remember, you are also the climber. You are the map maker. You are the guide. You have everything you need. You always have. The air is thinner up here, but it is cleaner. The climb is hard, but the view is worth everything. Now, look at your hands. Look at your feet. They are ready. The next step is right in front of you. It is small. It is unglamorous. It might just be sending that email, or making that call, or forgiving that person, or simply closing your eyes and taking one deep breath. Take it. Don't wait for the motivation. Motivation is a fair weather friend. Take the step because you are a climber, and climbers climb. We are building a tribe of people here who are done with the valley, a tribe of people who are addicted to the ascent. We analyze the maps, we check the gear, and we push each other to the peak. If you are ready to leave the old patterns behind and master the psychology of your own potential, you know what to do. The path continues right here, every week. Don't get left at base camp. Join us, and let's see how high we can go.